All right. Good evening, friends, miners, TEXITcoin advocates, people around the world. Welcome to Tuesday night with your host, Bobby Gray. If you don't already know me, founder, fearless leader, guy hanging out in Singapore these days. Thanks for joining at our modified, a little bit later in the day kind of schedule. Um, I have to walk down to the front desk here in a minute. So I thought I saw Mitchell a moment ago. I'm thinking maybe Mitchell can jump in and take over for me and say a couple of really cool, kind things to our friends
I am
until I
here.
get back. What's happening, man? How are you today?
I am fantastic. How are you doing?
Fantastic as well. It's very sunny here. It's very hot all the time, and you get used to it a little bit. But yeah, it's beautiful in this part of the world. What about you? How's the weather in sunny Florida?
It is hot. It's been hot. But I was just looking at the weather. It's supposed to get to like 60 degrees next Tuesday.
Is
I
that
don't know where
hot or
that
cold?
that's cold.
I was gonna say it's March. It's still supposed to be winter time, right? We're still
Yeah,
officially
I
in
know.
winter.
We've been in the 80s for a while now.
We sprung forward a couple days ago. We don't do that over here in this part of the world. Daylight saving shenanigans. Um, yeah, do you have anything to talk about for about 3 minutes for me to get to and from the front desk? Is there any kind
Yes.
of news, exciting updates if you want to be on the
We,
spot?
we can talk about something. Run.
Okay, I'm going. Wait here. I'll be right back. I'm hiding. I'm hiding. Here you go. All right, it's all
All
you.
right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the call. Look, we appreciate you jumping on this call. And the one thing I want to encourage everybody is to get these calls out to people. I just had a guy reach out to me today, and he was pretty upset, and he was asking me some questions, and they were questions that had been answered in the update calls very clearly the last couple of calls. And once I explained it to him, and he understood, but he hasn't jumped on any of the calls. You guys can't expect your people to know what's going on if they're not staying plugged into the calls. Bobby's been incredible about doing these calls. We've done them for what 102, 103 weeks straight now. He's never missed a call, which is pretty incredible. Incredible leadership there. And take advantage of it, guys. Get plugged into the calls. Make sure that your people are aware of the calls. Send them out to your friends and family, and let's make sure everyone stays educated. Also, remember we have the Q&A open. So ask your questions, get your questions in there. We'll go through them at the end of the call. We'll get them answered as quickly as we can. And also, the panelists will answer the questions as they come in. So if you have any questions, put them in there. I'm sure people are asking you all some questions. So this is the time to get them answered. So take advantage of that Q&A box down at the bottom of the Zoom. And if you want to go ahead and plug in some questions, I'll do my very best to answer some of them while we're waiting on Bobby. Mike, 35 tomorrow in Wisconsin. Oh my gosh, I do not envy you, brother. To show up to lead by example. Thank you for everything. You're very welcome, James.
What
Jamie,
are you
I
babbling on
appreciate
about
you.
over here? Anything important? Should I interrupt?
Oh, absolutely. Feel free to.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate that. As usual, reminder to our friends in Texas, this call is not for you. This call is not an offer to sell a security. This call is not an invitation to buy securities. This call is about TEXITcoin, the layer one built in Texas mineable cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin time machine, the second chance that we're creating for ourselves to take back control money. I've been working on this kind of question, this mystery about why it always seems that evil constantly wins. Why is it that evil seems to just be crushing it these days in 2026? Evil seems to have like a competitive advantage. How often is it, oh, I'm not recording yet. Yeah, yeah, my bad. Connecting to cloud server.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we'll start over. Bobby Gray here. Another Tuesday night, late edition, brought to you live from Singapore. I'm here with my friend Mitchell, and Gage is hiding out there somewhere. Good morning, gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you and welcome to the 225 miners that have chosen to spend a little bit of their Tuesday evening or Tuesday, whatever it is for you, with us. And let's get into it. I was talking a minute ago about evil and why it always seems that evil constantly wins. And there are a couple reasons for that. First of all, the very basic nature of evil gives it a really serious competitive advantage. Evil doesn't play by the rules. Evil is totally comfortable lying and cheating and stealing and killing if necessary to get what evil wants. It's like, hey, we really want to do some great stuff for the world, but we got to do it honestly. We got to do it ethically. We got to do it morally. We got to do it based on, a good foundational premise of you know, equal exchange of value, of, transparency, of, just a good thing. It's like I say, like, you can't get to a good thing through an evil path. You can't get to an honest truth by lying. There's this concept of the noble lie where it's okay to lie to someone as long as you're doing it for good. And it's like, no, that's morally and philosophically flawed. You cannot get something good through an evil method. And so we're kind of instantaneously and permanently handicapped in this battle against evil because evil is run by psychopaths and sociopaths that have no problem lying, cheating, stealing, killing to get what they want. They have no moral code. They have no, basic rule book by which they're supposed to be running their lives. And, unfortunately, that gives them a huge advantage. And so, the very basic idea of battling something evil, indicates to you right out of the gate that you're off to a really challenging start. But I think it's deeper than that. Even with that disadvantage, you get enough good people together and you can triumph. I think the real problem is that evil always seems to win because we gave evil a long time ago, or they took it, control of the lifeblood of society. The thing that runs civilized life, the thing that is required for civilization to operate is money. And we all know the money story. It slowly, progressively got more centralized and more controlled over, hundreds of years. From the goldsmith to the fractional banking to the creation of fiat currency to the Federal Reserve to the elimination of gold and silver from our, circulating money. I mean, it's a slow moving process to get to where we are now. It was slow, but here's where we are. And where we are is evil controls the money. And we have to work our butts off for it. We now, I think, I can't remember the statistics I saw the other day, but now more people in America are carrying two jobs to make ends meet than ever before. Obviously, that trend has been moving, but we passed some sort of milestone. I don't remember exactly what it was. And it was crazy. And it was like, man, we are working our butts off for money. It's like, well, love is important and the feeling of being important is important, and food and sexual gratification. Like, there are all these things that go into that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Um, but what's at the foundation of all of them, and we can debate all day long, which, is really the most important, and it differs from person to person. But unless you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere or an island and you're growing your own food, you're off the grid, you churn out your own butter, you milk the cow, you are completely disconnected from civilization in any and every way altogether. You need money. You got to find money. You got to bring in money to pay for clothing, for food, for electricity, for energy, for everything. And we gave up control of that a very long time ago. Wasn't our fault. Wasn't my fault. It's amazing today, the feeling and the weight of responsibility that I have on my shoulders right now, which is totally insane. You know, it borders on kind of like, I don't know what the right word is. You guys can tell me what the right word is. Maniacal. Like, I feel really bad about what's happening right now in the Middle East. It's not my fault. I'm not the guy that pressed the button. But I feel bad about that because, you know, it's interfering with lives, and it's done by the people that are in control of the money. And as long as they have control of the money, we have to work for it. They get to print it whenever they want, give it out to anyone they want to buy whatever weapons of death that they decide to put that money into. That's a problem. And so that's why this project exists, because getting to the root of all of these things that are wrong in civilization comes down, I believe, to money. And if the money's dishonest, if the money is controlled by people that intend on doing evil, then we've got the odds stacked against us. And I got into this project, you know, I got into cryptocurrency because I saw crypto. And again, it's a hard thing to accept at first. I saw crypto as an opportunity to establish honest money. And honest money levels the playing field. And we need honest money. The world, civilization needs honest money. If we intend on moving forward, and maybe that's not what's in the plan. Maybe these are end times, and we just have to sit back and enjoy the ride as we move towards whatever is, you know, the future brings us. But maybe not. Maybe like we thought at Y2K. Like, I'll never forget Y2K, where everyone was going out and buying generators and stockpiling food. The planes are going to fall out of the sky. The world's coming to an end. Yeah, those guys a year or two later felt a little foolish. You know, and some of them went all in on the end of the world, and it didn't happen. And here we are, you know, 26 years later, still having to live our lives, still, you know, having that moral responsibility of taking care of ourselves, our families, our communities, and doing what we can to spread, you know, the message of peace and prosperity with, you know, people around town and people on the other side of the world. And so, you know, that's kind of, um, like I said, it's something I'm working on in my mind. I've got a lot of time out here to think and reflect, and I'm just trying to figure out, why does it always feel like evil just keeps winning? How is it that good can start to put a couple points up on the board? And the answer, I think, is honest money. I think we got to continue moving forward with our mission. We're going to talk more about that tonight. But that's what really matters, in my opinion. That's at least the part that I'm working on. You might have a different idea. You might have a different direction. You might have a different, you know, imperative. And that's great, because we need people working on all fronts for good to win. The one that matters to me is honest money, and we're going to move forward with that. Okay, quick legal update. I reached out to our attorneys, and we've got the best in the business, last week, and I said, hey, we really want to move this project forward. Obviously, we don't want to dig our hole any deeper. We, you know, don't want to incur more challenges and make any more enemies out there with regulators. What can we do to change this thing, to make it possible to continue moving forward without, you know, more problems, more trouble? I said, well, give me a couple days and let me figure that out, because I'm really interested in that as well. And he sends me an email the other day and says, let's talk. And we got on the phone, and he said, have you read this update from the SEC? This, well, I can't remember exactly what the term is for it, but the kind of the guidance from the SEC. Hold on. SEC proof of work mining. Let's see exactly what it's called. No, I don't want to try AI mode. It's a statement. It's a statement from the SEC on certain proof of work mining activities. I say, yeah, I've read it. I'm very familiar with it. He said, well, tell me what I'm missing, because I've read it about 60 times. And for the life of me, I can't see how, number one, it doesn't apply to you. And number two, how you could do anything different in any way whatsoever, because I don't see anything wrong with what you guys are doing. And I said, well, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And I said, really, it's not the mining thing that's really the problem. The thing that's really the problem, and you'll see it, mentioned again and again and again in the cease and desist, is this mining packages sold through an MLM. He goes, no, that's not it. I won't, well, yeah, it is it. Everyone hates MLM. I hate MLM, he's like, yeah, but that's not it. Here's why. He says, MLM isn't something that's regulated by the TSSB. Securities commissions aren't the ones that oversee MLMs. It's not what they regulate. They regulate securities. And so what they have a tendency of doing from time to time is they see something that they don't like or they don't understand, and they shoehorn it into a different category of law where they have broad powers to shut things down. And so just because they may or may not like MLM, or this may or may not be an MLM, it doesn't make it a security. It doesn't change whether it is or isn't a security. And what happens is we do things and we don't know. You want to do something, you're not sure. So you look it up, you do some research, you search a thing or two, and then you come across a statement from the SEC that goes through and talks about proof of work mining. And you then begin to operate under this particular, a statement, any statement, and your understanding of it, and you get legal help and guidance and all that stuff, and you make a determination and you move forward. And I say, well, yeah, but let me push back a little bit, because there's more to it, because they don't talk about it in that statement. But when you're talking about mining, there's cloud mining, and then there's plug the miner in at home mining. Obviously we do both, which wasn't really indicated in that cease and desist, but we do both. He's like, no, it's not the point. What do you mean? Yes, it is. No, no, no. He's like, look, the government puts out these things and they're very opaque. They often do more to muddy the waters than they do to create clarity, because they don't cover every single thing. They don't cover, every detail. They don't cover every manifestation or example or type of mining. They broadly, talk about solo mining, and they talk about pool mining. Are you guys pool mining? Yeah, we have a pool. That's what it is. Okay, well, it doesn't exactly say the difference between cloud mining, pool mining at home, okay, cloud mining in a pool, not okay. Like, it doesn't do that. And so you're able to read that and come to the conclusion that pool mining's okay. It doesn't answer every specific example, but there's nothing in here that says cloud mining's not okay. So how could you, as an individual, with legal help looking at this, make the determination that one particular set of doing it a particular way isn't allowed and the other one is? So what you have to do is you have to use these things as a framework, and that's totally allowed under the law. You get a statement and you operate. And so, so I keep pushing back. I'm like, well, no, they don't like MLM. Well, no, they don't like cloud. Well, who says who? And so anyway, we got into it a little bit, and the moral of the story is I can't see how you would change. You would have to change anything whatsoever to do what you're doing right now. And our defense, our strategy is really simple. And that's the path that we're going to take. Again, kind of pointing out that whether you like MLM or not, being or whatever an MLM doesn't make it a security. And we're operating under this SEC statement that talks about it a particular way. And if you think that we have to do it a different way, then we're going to need clarification and guidance on exactly what that way is, to operate correctly under the law. And so that was an important kind of turning point in the defense's mind. And now the next step is to go out there and get expert opinions. And we talked about two experts that they're bringing on board that are very, very well credentialed, very well experienced in this field, and very, very, I don't know, whatever the other very thing is. They're good. And we can't go in there and argue. We got to go in there and bring an expert in, and put that evidence in there into our case, and it becomes part of our brief. And the brief goes in front of kind of a review committee first. It could get tossed before it even gets to a hearing, which would be really, really great. So the question is, okay, well, what's the timeline on that? They're saying probably about 30 days for us to make sure we have the right experts, get the expert opinions. They have already talked to the experts and have already confirmed what we've just talked about a minute ago. And and so that's kind of an exciting thing, to know that we're not doing anything wrong. And I know it feels like that. I know when you see that and everyone goes, ooh, and all your relationships start backing away and everyone looks at you like you got some sort of terrible transmittable disease. It feels bad, especially when you read through it and you say, well, it says there's fraud in here. And I asked the attorney about that as well. And he said, no. The fraud is always there because nobody would ever say, hey, would you like to buy my unregistered security? So you always get hit with that other thing in there for, fraudulently selling an unregistered security. Like it's a 2-for-1. And so I said, well, what about the Mulligan Mint thing? What does that have to do with it? Nope, same thing. Look, they throw these things in there to make you look bad. How can they go after a guy that's running a clean shop that hasn't made any false or misleading statement, that doesn't have any investor losses and harm, that doesn't have any imminent danger? Like, they got to throw in things to make it look bad, to give it some teeth. And we've always talked about that. We've always talked about how if you take the fraud, if you take the dishonesty, if you take, the misappropriation of funds, if you take all of those, things that the other guys did or didn't do out of this format, you're left with one thing. Turn a little bit so I don't have to look at somebody working out there in the gym. You're always left with one thing, and that one thing is just whether or not it is or is not a security. And so we're dealing with that. And so all of that was very, very encouraging. That's the official legal update, that is giving us the ability to move forward with some good news, which I'll share with you guys in a few minutes. But before we get into the idea of moving forward, then another thing that I've been working on a lot the last couple of days is just going through the basic premise, the basic idea of what we're doing. What's the plan? And I've been looking at that because it's like, okay, well, we want to move forward, whether that's Iscander or TEXITcoin or whatever you call it. We want to keep going because we think we had a good thing going and it was working well. We learned a lot about comp plan, do's and don'ts. We learned a lot about market cycles. But we think we're on to something here. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of excitement. A lot of people disappointed when we decided to pause. And so we want to keep going, but whether or not we can find a loophole in the law that allows us to keep, chugging along isn't really the most important question. The most important question in my mind, two things really. One is, are we doing something good for the world, for everybody? And number two is, are we doing it the right way? Do we have a good plan? This is a great time for us to stop and to take a step back and to look at the strategy and be like, well, we kind of had it all wrong. And, it took an unfortunate action by a state regulator to cause us to, stop in our tracks and realize the massive error of our ways. And that, was really, really beneficial. Or we pause for a moment and we look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and we conclude or not that we got a good plan. And so I've been spending a lot of time on that the last couple of days as well. And we have a good plan. I was just at breakfast the other day with some people that are working on another project, and they're like, well, tell us your story. I'm like, we don't have time for all that. No, we want to hear, because we hear some interesting things. We'd like to hear your version of it. And I went through kind of the basic premise of our project. What is the basic premise of our project? If you showed up late to the party, if you got into TEXIT coin in April of 2024, it was one conversation. If you got in, late 2024 was a different conversation. Early 2025 was a different conversation. Late 2025 or mid to late 2025 was a different conversation. And we went through those. If you go back, I don't know, one of the Thursday night calls we did was the evolution of the TEXIT coin pitch. And I'm not real proud of that evolution, to be honest with you. There's a lot that changed in our discussion that really shouldn't have changed. I got lazy. Same way a lot of people in our community got lazy as well. It wasn't, the pitch, the introduction, the invitation at day one was, hey, we're gonna try to do this thing. And that's kind of what we're gonna talk about in a minute. And we don't know if it's gonna work. We have a plan. Here's our plan. Would you like to be a part of this thing? Throw your money down on the table. Do you have the money to risk? Do you have an appetite for trying something out, taking a journey inside of this, strange and exciting world of crypto? And then the conversation all the way at the end was, hey, look at the chart, look at the numbers. That's it. Join us. Somebody just sent a message in a couple minutes ago. I don't know if it was in the chat or in the Q&A about what's the revised path to 16 look like, because we're like 16 cents now. We said $16, so we're off by a couple zeros. But when will we get back to that? And that is, kind of a contributing component of what oriented us on the wrong path, because this path was never really about the money. It was never really about inviting people on just because of what it was worth. The conversation was always about inviting people to participate because what we were doing, why we were doing it, how we were doing it. And so, that conversation changed. And I regret how that changed, because when it changed, it made our invitation highly dependent on the actual price, the growth. And when the growth slowed and then stopped and then turned, it made it almost impossible to bring people on, bring people into our community, which is really insane because we did it, and we did it so well when we had nothing. So if we can do it when we have nothing, what is it that changed that caused it to be so difficult when we have so much going for us? And that's what changed in the conversation. So let's go all the way back for a moment and talk about what the original conversation was, because that original conversation is why we're moving forward. And, it starts with a couple basic things. One is, hey, the world needs honest money. We talked about that a moment ago. And I believe that cryptocurrency is, strangely enough, the most honest money planet Earth has ever seen. It's incredibly accountable. It's incredibly fast and easy to use. It's a great store of value. You can use it to get stuff in the marketplace much easier than you can use gold and silver coins. And so that's the world that I came from, gold and silver. And so when I compared crypto to gold and silver, it was just a better mousetrap that somebody built. And so you start with that basic premise of the world needs honest money. Okay. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, like which one? Well, those are all kind of controlled by China these days. And we like honest money. We like, cryptographically secure financial systems, but we'd really like to have like the made in America version of that. And that's another thing, going back to the legal conversation. We talk about this statement from the SEC on proof of work mining, and we go, okay, we'll do it. But we also look at the statements from the current administration where they keep talking again and again and again about America needing to lead the way in the cryptocurrency conversation. Well, who's doing it? We are. We're the guys that are building a mine in Texas. He talks about crypto being a vital national security interest. Well, who's doing it? Who's working on it? Who's making it happen? We are. Oh, you don't like the way that we're doing it with our referral non-MLM comp plan thing? Okay, well, let's talk about how we can make it a little bit more palatable. But again, we use those statements as our, kind of our framework for how to do it the right way. Anyway, that's what we're doing. We're building a made in America cryptocurrency. Okay, well, we want it to be like a top 100 crypto. We want it to be big and successful and well respected and well used. How do we get there? Well, we got a couple basic components. One is we got to bring together a community. How about 1 million people? If we have a community of 1 million people that have a vested interest in our project success, is that a big enough community to get this thing onto the top 100? Yes, good. Okay. Well, what about money for liquidity and getting onto exchanges? Yeah, we're going to need that too. Okay, well, how about we put like 10% of our budget into liquidity and exchange access and market type stuff? Great. Okay. What if we took some of our budget and put it into promotion? Getting the word out about our project. Yeah, good idea. Um, and then we have to build a mine. We need to have this infrastructure. Proof of work is the way to go. We've written extensively about it in the last couple of weeks about how important proof of work is. Proof of work is that limiting factor that requires an investment in infrastructure and energy and resources that limits the output. When you cook up 100 billion trillion meme coins out of thin air, there's no limiting factor that prevents it from being inflated or whatever. Like, we use proof of work because there's a connection between the energy and infrastructure input and the output of the mine. And so the system is based on rules. We establish those rules, we follow the rules, and you've got an honest and accountable monetary system. But we need to build this mine to get the attention of the cryptocurrency community. You can't expect to get onto that top 100 list and actively engaged and traded by cryptocurrency professionals without speaking their language. We're not really speaking their language yet. We're talking about honest money. We're talking about currency. We're talking about fairs and festivals. We're talking about communities. They don't really care about all that stuff. What do they care about? Well, they care about the markets and the trading and the hedging and the different derivatives that are out there in the exchanges. But they also care about mining. They look at hash power, they look at energy consumption, and those are some of the key metrics that mainstream crypto uses to gauge whether a project has followed through on what they said, or whether that they've climbed up, to a level that's big enough and important enough to be worthy of the attention of the cryptocurrency community. And so I looked at this thing and I said, okay, if we have a community, if we have a mine, if we have a promotion and marketing budget, and we have money for liquidity, we're on top exchanges, then surely with a $200 million marketing and promotion budget, we can get ourselves onto the top 100. That's it. That was the plan. That is the plan today. And the plan is just as good today as it ever was. It stalled out. We think we know why. We think we've made those changes. We're ready to continue moving forward. Then we get the cease and desist thing. So we're looking at that and, going back and dotting the I's and crossing the T's on, the regulatory issues. I got somebody here like watering the plants right now, so it might be a little loud in the background. Anyway, it's a good opportunity to pause and look and reflect and figure out if the plan is still good. And the plan is great. The plan is exactly right. And I want to remind you guys that we still have quite a lot of resources that we've stockpiled in that marketing and promotion budget to start to really get this thing cooking. We didn't want to use influencers and all that stuff in the early days. We're far enough along now with the network, with the mine build out, with everything that's going on to start to open up some of that marketing budget and use it to our advantage. And so we're going to get into that next. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's the plan. The model is still good. Stop for a moment, as we get into talking about moving forward and opening things up and how we're doing that. Just stop for a moment and take a look at the basic plan. And if you think the plan still has merit, if you think the plan is still good, then that's what I'd like you to use to consider the idea of your continued participation. What does that mean? It means we're at a crossroads here. We're looking at what's happened. We're looking at all we've done. We have an opportunity to reflect and say, did we do good? Are we off to a good start? Is the plan good? And if you get to a yes on all those things, then let's go. Let's keep going, because we have something good, and good needs a win. And what better people are there than you and me to make sure that good wins? That's what we have. That's what's at stake. That's what matters. Good needs a victory, and it needs good people. What's the old saying? The only thing that has to happen for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, let's do something. Let's get off our couch. Let's get together. Let's learn about money. Let's learn why honest money is important, and let's keep going. But not delusionally, not intentionally adversarially. Let's look at the law. Let's make sure that we're not breaking it. Let's make sure that we're continuing to use the same honesty and transparency moving forward. It's only going to get more transparent as we talk about Iscander because, we're kind of past phase one, and now we get to start using the marketing budget, and it's big for Iscander right away. And we've got a deal lined up, guys. Some of you are going to love it, some of you are going to hate it, but it's a big deal. It's expensive, and it's going to really take us to a whole new height. But before we get into that, stop, pause, look, listen, observe, come to the conclusion that what we're doing and how we're doing it is good. And if you make that determination, then let's go. If you come up short on that, then stand on the sidelines. If you're a miner, you're already in, you've already got your daily rewards coming. If you think that you're involved in something that's bad or evil, then you don't want to do it. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning thinking that they're doing harm. Some people do, I guess, but not you and me. And if you think that we're doing good, then let's go. And the way that we're continuing is not a shift. It's not a pivot. It is not much different whatsoever than what we've been doing for the last, 101 weeks. What are we on? Week 102? We have to talk about our numbering system. We're either on, I think, week 102 or week one. Let's call this week one. Let's call this week one of Iscander. And week one of Iscander, a couple things just to bring you up to speed. Number one, what's Iscander? It's a continuation of Mine TXC. Why does it have a different name? Because of the cease and desist? No. It doesn't have a different name for that reason. It has a different name because we should have never called the TEXITcoin community that's out there, building and promoting the mine and mine packages, the same thing or a similar name. It should have been called something different. Just like in Bitcoin, you don't have like people out there calling it Bitcoin if it's not Bitcoin, the core technology. That's what the core technology is called. I'll never forget when Roger split off and started Bitcoin Cash. And I was like, dude, why did you call it Bitcoin Cash? That's so confusing. No one's going to understand what the difference is between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Litecoin called it Litecoin. That was a great name. It was a lighter version of Bitcoin. You still had the coin in there on the end, so people knew that it's a coin, but it's lighter. It's light. It's Litecoin. Makes sense. And so we're changing the name because we don't want it to be deceptively similar or confusing to TEXITcoin. TEXITcoin is the core currency. It's the layer one. It's the code that runs the proof of work network. It's the wallets. It's the block explorers. That's all TEXITcoin. That's all core stuff. So let's call the community that's out there helping the project grow Iscander. That's what Iscander is. Okay. So here's what's happening. Here's what's changing. Two things, really. Number one, we're starting a second coin. Now, I think we're calling that second coin Iscander coin. So there's that. We're still working through that. But Iscander is a great name for our community. So Iscander Network is what we're calling the community that's out there building it. Yeah, it's Iscander coin, but it's kind of a secondary thing. So we're still trying to figure that part out. Give us a little bit there. But it's probably called Iscander coin. And that's a second mine that we're building out of the Middle East. Now, as you may recall, some number of months ago, we talked about where we're going, how we're doing it. We set out to Dubai. Well, Dubai is a really tough place to be doing stuff right now. I was there getting things set up, applied for our business, got started going down the path for Vara, and then boom, the world changes. And that's extremely frustrating for me. And I know it's extremely frustrating for you because we have to do it different now. How? Exactly where? I don't know yet, but we're not going to do it. I'm 99% sure it's not going to happen out of Dubai. Right now, we're all sitting here patiently waiting to see how long all of this is going to continue. And I don't think we're getting really good information out of whatever's happening right now. You and I have talked extensively about how good information is required to make good decisions. Well, we're sitting here kind of in the dark, trying to make decisions about the future of phase three, and we're just not getting good information. I don't think we have the good information to get started in this conflict. I don't think we have good information that's keeping us up to date about what's happening in this conflict. It's a real mess. So we're going to avoid it. But that's the first part. So we're launching the second coin. Why? Because we need a backup. We talked all the way back, at least in September, about how it was important to spread the message of peace and prosperity around the globe, build out multiple cross mining networks around the globe to support the project that we have in Texas. And now that the mining stuff is starting to work better and more reliably, hopefully you guys have noticed that stuff. And we're getting close now. I think this week we'll have our multi-coin merge mining done, which is really important so that we can profitably mine like Litecoin, Dogecoin, TEXITcoin, and Iscander coin, all those together, which would make our mining profitable. Very exciting. And so we are launching that to give ourselves a backup, to give ourselves a global, geopolitically redundant footprint. And whatever's happening in the world now is all the more of an indication that what we're doing is exactly the right thing and smart. We can't have a network that the world is going to respect if we've got a single point of failure that's under one jurisdiction that could shut it down. Not easily, because we've got mines set up all over the state, people's homes, but they could definitely take out a big chunk of it if they wanted to. And so that's why it's important now for us to continue to grow globally. We've got great teams of Iscander, TEXITcoin support all over the planet. And so we're really excited about ramping that up. That gives us another 1,000,000 seats to sell. It gives us more revenue to bring in for that budget that we talked about is the good plan to keep this thing chugging and moving and succeeding. And so that's the first part of it. What's the second part of it? I don't remember. I don't know. Cup of coffee. Where's my coffee? So the second, okay. We're talking about changes. So number one is we're growing and we're diversifying internationally with the second coin. That's the first part of Iscander. The second part of Iscander is that we're removing almost all of the MLM-y things that are really what I believe have put us in the crosshairs. And that's kind of a double-edged sword. Let's talk about that. And so what we talked about on the Iscander call that went down earlier this week was that earlier this week? Was it Thursday morning? I don't know. Maybe you were on the Iscander call. What we talked about on the Iscander call was the headwinds that we keep running into. And we saw, warning advisory come out of New Zealand. We've got a great team in New Zealand. They're saying, hey, Texas just did a cease and desist on this TEXITcoin thing, blah, blah, blah. And so we said, what is it? Why is it that we've got this thing and we keep running into these headwinds? It's MLM. Regulators hate MLM. It's easy to understand why they hate MLM, and it's easy to understand why they hate crypto. And when you have a crypto MLM, they don't have to do much hard work, heavy lifting to determine that it's a scam. Why? Because if you're building an MLM around mining Bitcoin, which is what everybody does, you can look at that business model right out of the gate and know that it's fundamentally flawed. If you want to mine Bitcoin right now in the US, you buy yourself a miner, you plug it in, you turn it on, you link it into a pool, or you just solo mine, which is insane. But if you do it like that, you're losing money. $2, $3, $4, $5 a day is what you're losing right out of the gate. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but the last statistic I saw is like the cost for mining a Bitcoin right now in the US is like $88,000. And what's a Bitcoin going for today on the open market? 65, 68. Let me look it up real quick so I don't misspeak. Coin market cap. We are at $69,990, far below that 85 plus $1,000 cost. What is that? $15,000 loss. So if you want to start mining Bitcoin today, you're losing money. The business model is fundamentally flawed for Bitcoin mining. Now, look at the numbers for TEXITcoin. They're very, very, very low, but it's not in the negatives. And so you got one profitable business model with TXC mining, and you've got one where you're losing money with Bitcoin mining. So if you say, I'm going to start a Bitcoin mining operation, everyone looks at it and goes, what are you doing? You're going to lose money. You can't do it. It's impossible. Then you go, well, I'm going to do it through an MLM. And they go, oh, all right. We see what you're doing now. You're going to make all your money off of recruitment because you've got a product that's losing money and you can't even give out Bitcoin to your people because you're already at a net loss. So if they would have lost money doing it themselves, then they're going to lose at least twice as much money doing it through your network marketing thing. And so they see those two components together and they go, no, it's impossible. It must be a scam. What did we do different? We weren't mining Bitcoin. And that's kind of the important part that's at the very core of, this legal discussion. We're not mining Bitcoin. You guys don't get it because we're not mining Bitcoin. Everybody else is mining Bitcoin. We're mining our own coin. Interesting. Which means we've got a lot of work to do in order to make it valuable. It's worthless. We're mining a hobby coin. It has no value whatsoever unless we, the community, participates and makes it valuable. That's an important thing because that's kind of how we test number 4. But anyway, that's the point. The point is that when the regulators see that MLM component along with a crypto mining deal, they kind of have this knee-jerk, instantaneous reaction that goes, that's a scam. It's either a Ponzi scheme or it's a pyramid scheme where they're making all their money off of recruitment and they don't have a real product. They can't because it's not profitable to have that product. So they're probably not doing it in the first place. And they're right 9 times out of 10. And so then we come along, they put the new guy on it maybe, and they come to this conclusion that's wrong. And so, like we're working through right now in Texas, we've got to show them what they missed, and that's frustrating and very expensive. But we don't want to hit that same headwind as we continue forward with Iscander. So what did we do? We chopped out all the MLM stuff, right? We had this really beautiful thing that we put together. We said, okay, Iscander is going all the way MLM, all the weirdest stuff that you see in MLMs. Let's do that in ours, but let's do it based on the same, transparency and, principles that we put into TEXITcoin and make that work. And we've already developed this really good reputation of following through on what we said we were going to do. So, people, even though it looks like a total MLM, they'll trust us. They'll join us. And they'll have a lot of fun with it because it's got a lot more fun stuff built into it than we had originally. Change of plans. That's not going to work. If we make it look more like an MLM, we can only guarantee that we'll have more headwinds as this thing continues to go out there and grow. You got to remember, around most of the world, there's nothing illegal whatsoever about cloud mining. If you wanted to split hairs with this SEC statement, you can. And cloud mining, which is kind of like what the subsection that's not really covered in that document is, and it's not exclusively cloud mining because plenty of people have mining equipment at home. But if you're looking just specifically at the cloud mining version of it, it's not illegal. Pair it up with an MLM, and it sure smells like a security that they're going to go after. Whether they shoehorn it into that category just to try to shut it down more easily or what, we don't know. But the point is that we're pulling out all the MLM stuff. So now we have an extremely simple comp plan, 20%, single level, sign somebody up and you get a 20% cash commission. That's it, right? Now we've got questions about how they pay in and TXC. So we've got, some things that we have to work through for the original people that join. But now moving forward, it's 20%. That's it. If you'd like to take your commission in hash power till about 49 minutes ago, it was 50%. I changed that. I sprung it on the guys and I said, guys, for simplicity's sake, why don't we just do a match? Why don't we just do 100%? If you bring on somebody that wants to buy an 81 seat package, let's give the person that referred that person 81 seats. Why not? We're building a mine. That's what we're trying to do. The bigger the mine, the more successful the project is at reaching out and demonstrating its worth and success to the crypto community. So instead of like, okay, well, I sold 1 seat for 995 or $1,000, whatever it is. Do I get half a seat? No. You sold 1 seat, you get 1 seat. If you'd like to take your commission in hash power, we will give you 1 for 1, right? Hash power is inexpensive. We have the ability to grow it. We're trying to grow the mine. We're trying to get this thing big, exciting, and get there quickly. So I just changed it, sprung it on the guys about 50 minutes ago. Right before the call started, I said, hey, let's do this instead. Easier math, gets the mine going bigger, faster, gets you guys more hash power. It's a win all around. So if you want a simple cash commission, it's 20%. If you want to take your commission in hash power, it's 100%. Why? Because hash power is inexpensive. We're building a mine, and that's the whole point of this thing anyway. I had 2 other reasons in there. Can't remember what the other reasons are. I make compelling arguments, and I was able to win at least one person in our management chat over before the call started. What were my other reasons? Okay, reason number one, for simplicity's sake, yes. It's a big bonus. Yes. It's inexpensive on the hash power. It is easy math, and we're building a mine. So let's do it like that. So 100% matching if you take your commission in hash power, and 20% if you take your commission in cash or cash equivalent. And so that's what we're doing. Single tier, no drama, no MLM stuff. Now, could we bring some of that stuff back later? Yes, we could. The Texas thing works out well. They go green light, gentlemen, ladies, get back to doing your fun, awesome thing where you were bringing people together and throwing parties and getting them excited about honest money. That's cool stuff. Keep going. And so if that day comes, and I hope that day does come, and I hope it comes soon, then we'll take another look at it. We'll see what we can do to continue to build the fun stuff back in. But, we looked at it and we're like, well, why would people prefer an MLM over a single tier affiliate program? And a single tier affiliate program, you get paid for what you produce. Simple. We don't even have to worry about the comp plan failing. It can't fail. There's no dead weight. There's no bloat that builds up. See how bad I'm sweating right now? That's Singapore for you. There's no dead weight. There's no bloat. There's no like, we have to change the comp plan. It's breaking down. We have to add more rules or requirements. Like, why would people prefer a more complex system? There are a bunch of reasons for it. I don't want to get into them now, but as we simplify this thing, we reduce the headwinds that we have to worry about hitting head on, because people go, oh, it's an affiliate program. It's an affiliate program. That's it. Just an affiliate program. But remember, the affiliate program is 30% of the budget. Okay. We're paying out 20%, which means we've got extra percentage there for some fun stuff. So we're still going to have some fun, whether that's trips or promotions or contests or giveaways or get-togethers, whatever it is, it's still going to be fun. Because if we're not having fun while we're fighting for freedom, we are doing it all wrong. We're still going to have a great time. And I want you guys to have a great time as well. We had a blast. If you go to mindtxe.com, there's a pop-up there where I say, thanks, guys. Thanks for all the friendships. Thanks for all the good times we had together. I think a lot of us really enjoyed this thing to the core, and I want it back. I want it back. I want it back bad, and it's coming right now. Iscander is live, and I've got even more good news for you. We're going to open it up to everyone outside of Texas. If you're in Texas, unfortunately, you won't be able to join. We're under a cease and desist in Texas. When that cease and desist goes away, we'll invite our Texan friends to come back and join us. But we're going to open it back up now for everybody in America, because we've been through it with a full legal review. We're not doing anything wrong. We've never done anything wrong. We've run a clean shop, and we're going to continue moving forward, because good still needs to win. We're going to do it without the MLM component. Hopefully that, takes some of the troll hate down a little bit. I don't think there's much out there, guys. I know it seems overwhelming as you look at this stuff on social media channels. Just turn it off. It's all garbage. We've got a job to do. We know how to do it. We've got good people that are ready to do it. And so we're moving forward everywhere except for Texas. So again, unfortunately, we're under a cease and desist in Texas. We are very sure that we're doing the right thing. We're doing good, and we're going to continue to work hard to bring about honest money for Americans, and for people all over the world as well. So that's what's happening. That's the update. Like I said, we're going to focus on transparency for Iscander, right? Real-time updates as we did before, but now you're actually going to see the line items. And let me tell you what it is that we brought into the call with the Iscander people. And maybe that'll cause you to either decide to join if you're not in Texas, or decide to continue if you're on the fence. We are going heavy with partnerships and influencer relationships. We've selected our first one. We've got a guy named Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan that we're in conversations and discussions and negotiations with. We brought their business manager onto the Iscander call on Thursday to talk about kind of what the strategy is. And so we're moving forward with the Tate brothers. That's at least the plan right now, if they'll have us, and I think that they will. Obviously, that could change. The team was like, don't mention any names on the call, because we don't want the trolls going to work. No. They're not afraid of the trolls. You can mention us all day long. That doesn't bother us one bit. And again, some people will love that, some people will hate it, but they're not afraid of, affiliate marketing stuff. They're not afraid of crypto stuff. Then don't back down from a fight. And I want them to have our back. I want them to have our back. And that's a big thing for us. And it's expensive. Really, the biggest challenge right now is that they were going to come out to our events in Dubai. Remember, we got two events on the schedule right now. We've got the Crypto Polo Cup in Dubai on the 25th of April. And we've got the Crypto Yacht Party on the 26th of April. Then we've got Token 2049, the 29th and 30th of April. 31st, 30 days after September, April. I guess they don't have a 31. 28, 29, 30? I don't remember. End of April. And now all that is up in the air because we don't even know what's happening in Dubai. We don't know, when Dubai is going to calm down and go back to, a very safe and beautiful place for us to get together and share our story and our mission. And so really that's the only thing right now that is holding up that getting started, because we set a deadline of 5 o'clock yesterday for people to decide if they were going to continue to stay in with Iscander or take a full refund. We originally had $6.8 million of interest in Iscander, and we've done a little bit less than $350,000 of refunds, which is about 5%, which is very exciting. 95% of the people that chose to join us on that journey are continuing on with us, through thick and thin, which is really great. And it's much appreciated, guys. Thank you. But now that we've got that figured out, we have an idea what the budget is. Well, we talked about putting 40% into promotion and marketing now. If we're changing the comp plan and reducing the comp plan percentage from 50 to 30, that gives us another 20%. Let's put that money directly into promotion and marketing. And let's do it real time. The money comes in this week. Let's spend it next week. And so now we're aggressively working on bringing on more relationships, more influencers, more of that stuff. And so that's very exciting. So the numbers are finalized for Iscander, kind of getting started. We're going through and making sure that everything's organized and cleaned up. And then we'll purchase our first set of miners. We'll get our first marketing dollars allocated and spent, and we'll also start paying out those commissions. So all that's coming in the next couple of days. Very exciting. The show will go on. It's called Iscander. It is our global growth of our project to continue to spread the message of peace and prosperity all over this beautiful world. And we're going to bring the fun back. I don't know exactly how, I don't know exactly where, but we're taking down the MLM stuff considerably, getting to a single affiliate style program, commission program, real simple stuff. You can take the commission in cash or in hash, just as usual, but now the numbers are a lot bigger, but it's only based now on your direct result. So we're going to lose some of that team building energy, but we're going to gain a lot of simplicity and hopefully watch those headwinds start to go away, because, we're taking that page off the website that says, click here for the comp plan. As soon as they see that page, they know something funky is going on, or at least they believe something funky is going on, and they start to try to stop it. So that's going away, and I'm excited about that. Whether or not we ever bring it back, time will tell. But let's focus on success first, and we can always, modify or improve the marketing strategy, the sales strategy to account for what we're learning, what's working, what's not working, as we've done in the past. Now we've got something really simple. We don't have to worry about having to modify it. Okay. That's it for tonight's call. Let's take a look at your Q's and A's. Gage, I saw you unhide yourself there. Did you have something you wanted to say or add or contribute or whatever?
No, I got kicked off of the Zoom,
Oh,
logged
no.
out of my blockchain mint email,
Hmm.
and couldn't get back on. So now I'm on my phone and I can't see the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it's all very nice stuff that I'm not even have to worry about skipping over anything. Okay. So, again, guys, I'll do the best I can to answer your questions. I'm not going to get too deep into some topics. We talked a lot about transparency and how it built this project, got us to where we are today, and how some of that is changing as we move forward. I was in our group chat on Telegram the other night, and I said, well, don't worry. If I'm not going to tell you something, at least I'll tell you that I'm not telling you. And it's not a joke, it's like, what do we know and what do we not know? Well, if there's something that I'm not willing to share, I'll let you know that I'm not willing to share it. And that way, at least you can, you can still know you're not being lied to. As long as you're not being lied to, then you've got the ability to, think through it, you know, better. Anyway, okay. John says MLM, like any other way of selling a product, relies on honest players and thus ethical principles generally, and a sales contract is the best protection in writing. Did that happen when a miner bought a seat? No, we have no contracts, no agreements, nothing. And there's a reason for that. I won't get into exactly what the math is behind that now because we're in kind of this legal stuff. And that may change. That may have to change. But yeah, you're right. You can't make a good deal with bad people. If bad people come into your deal, rest assured that it's going to end badly. Mark says, can they make a reversal of C&D based on the brief? They sure can, Mark. The brief will get submitted along with our evidence and our expert witness testimony, and they could toss it right then and there, which would really be spectacular. How is the mine performance update going? It's going very good. Let's see if I can share my screen and show you what I'm talking about. Pool, Explorer, Mine, TXC. What else do we have? Explorer, Pool. Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. Share this screen, share. Okay. So remember last time we talked about a couple things that we use to, monitor performance. And those things are Pool. Pool shows you our real-time hash rate. We also have the ability in the pool. I don't know why these sections down here are blank. I'll get the developers to figure that out. But we have the ability inside of the pool to see, which miners are doing well. And we just went through in the last couple of days and renamed our miners for Mansfield, for Conroe, for McKinney. And so that way you'll be able to see the big hash power contributors and what their performance looks like. And that gives us insight as, okay, well, the hash power dropped. Who's not pulling their weight? Well, what facility might be struggling, and we can look into it. You can also see the same hash chart here in a little bit of a different kind of visual format. It's going to be, a different scale. And so this shows you how the pool contributors are operating. And this, I think, is showing you more what the actual pool is. But there's a disparity here, and I've got to figure out why. And then the other thing you can figure out through this is what our, shared output is. And this is really great because, you can see that we're now beginning to trend upward. We were down there 60,000, 59,000, terrible days. And now you can start to see, if you change this to like a weekly view, that we're beginning to pull ourselves out and trend upward. And so this is the daily TXC shared. And so yesterday or today or whatever it is, was 91,690. In addition to all of this, I also get real-time alerts. If the mine's not performing properly, it'll send me a message. So we've got a couple things figured out, and the mine is performing much better. There's one more thing that we're looking at now, which is what's called stale blocks. So our network's producing about 25% stale blocks. I don't know what that means yet. And so that's really where we're at on figuring out why the network is showing, something like 5.5, and yet we should be with, 472 L9s active. We should be more like 7.5. And so the stale blocks, 472 times 16.5, we should be at 7.7, somewhere around there. So we're trying to figure out this stale blocks thing. Again, all of these things have to come together quickly for us to have the mine performing properly, especially as we get into the 4-coin merge mining, which will give us the ability to actually have a profitable mine for the first time, which will be very exciting for us. So look out for both of those. We've got another developer that's building a whole separate pool. Right now, we've got one pool built with our existing development team. Those guys have done a great job, but they're overwhelmed. We've got another pool getting built by another development team. And so we're going to now have two different technologies to kind of, debug and check some of these, problems and theories and find solutions. So moving forward, big progress, more reliable blocks, and we still have the merge mining for 4 coins to figure out, and the performance issue with the stale blocks to figure out, but much better. When are we going to be able to use TXC to get into ISK? I think we can do that right now. I don't know if it's built out that way in the back end, but certainly if you contact Gage or somebody in the office, they can definitely help you get set up in ISK with TXC. Peter says, so would buying TXC now while it's super low be considered making it viable? Peter, I can't make any suggestion or recommendation to you or anybody about when to buy TXC, how much to buy. My job is to make sure that we have utility for TXC, along with everybody else that has the ability to build on top of our chain, so that there's a value for it outside of just the market and speculative side. And so, look, if you think it's cheap right now, pick up a handful. If you are totally comfortable with your mining position, giving you your daily reward, then that's fine as well. But really, a long-term value comes down not to speculative buying and selling, but based on utility, and that's a really high priority for us right now. Okay, our big celebratory plans for 4th and the 250 America. Let's hope that America is still here by the 4th. I don't have any big plans. What do you got going on? Maybe your party's going to be fun. Tristan's faith in Andrew when he was struggling isn't far off from the TEXITcoin story. A mighty brotherhood to ride the storm side by side to the good times. Here for the sunshine. Thanks, Lonnie. Very kind. To be honest, I don't know much about them. I know a little bit, but not much, because there's not really anybody that I follow. I don't do the social media thing. I don't religiously listen to podcasts. I have my own kind of filters that I take information in through. I like to bring in a whole bunch of different things and process it all and come up with my own conclusions. So I wouldn't say that I know much about those guys. Hopefully there's more good there than bad. Anybody that we pick for an influencer, some people are going to love, some people are going to hate. The Tates could not be more polarizing. I think they're probably the most controversial figures on planet Earth. So I don't know if we've chosen wisely or unwisely, but again, they're going to be out there banging the drums for Iscander and for TXC in the target areas. They're extremely well liked and well respected across the Middle East for obvious reasons. And so that's really why we're having that conversation. Now we'll start to look at other influencers and promotion opportunities for TEXITcoin. Like I said, guys, we've got a budget for this stuff. Let's start to put to work. Andrew and Tristan are involved with some serious controversy in Romania. They sure are. Are we sure we want to use them? Absolutely not. What about potential negative publicity? I don't know if we could get any more negative with TXC right now, but again, I already pointed out why I like them. They're pro crypto, they're pro affiliate stuff. They don't back down from a fight. If they got our back, they got our back. Some people are going to love it. They've got a very passionate community of something like 30,000 affiliates that are waiting for their next thing to come out and promote. Now, that doesn't help you directly because we've got a single tier affiliate program now, but it does put more money into the marketing and promotion budget, which helps all of us. And so that's really an important thing when it comes to choosing the right influencer. Okay, what community do they have access to? What can they do to help improve the project for all of us? Some people are going to like them, some people are going to hate them, and again, we'll get more of that to like votes. We can use our coins and our hash power as kind of a governance model. And so you guys remember, I've come to you plenty of times, a couple times, with questions I don't have answers to. You think this is a good idea? 51% say yes, 49% no. We make a decision accordingly. Okay, can we do a limited buy one, get one special for Iscander? I don't know. Like I said, promotions will be coming. We're going to have some fun stuff. But we'll see how all that stuff shakes out as we get that motor turning again. How does an influencer affect ISK? That's a good question. We're trying to figure that part out now. The original idea was coming to events, doing live broadcasts at events and promotion on site, product placement type stuff. And so So I don't know exactly what the plan is, but as we figure out who the players are, we'll figure out what the answer to that question is. When is ISK opening for USA except for TX? It's open now. I don't know if the website supports that, but I'm sure that we're in the process of getting that going. Hopefully Gage can make sure that that happens. What's the status on getting the transformers for Victoria and getting that site online? Well, we've bought the transformer that we need. We are scheduled to receive that transformer, I think, in June or July. It's a couple months out. We've got 4 more containers arriving or arrived at port or something like that. And so the focus right now is on getting the next 4 installed. And then again, as the mine power grows and the hash power improves and we start profitably mining, that'll light the fire for us to get the last 2 containers set up. But once we have 7 out of our 8 containers online, we will be operating above the hash power we sold. Each container runs at about 3.3 million mega hash. 3.3 times 7 puts us at 23.1 right there at the sold hash power. And again, remember, in addition to that, we've got 48 ASICs in Mansfield and 24 in McKinney that are firing away. So that puts us at or above our total sold hash power, which is really important. That means we follow through. Now, remember, we're also going to be doing this now for Iscander as well. So the numbers are going to start growing a lot more quickly as the party continues. So Victoria is actually not a real high priority for us. Right now, the higher priority is getting the 4 new ones installed. And then we're probably comfortable at this point waiting until that transformer comes in that we've bought and at least partially paid for to get Victoria online. One of the reasons for that is because we got a 7-cent electric rate in Victoria, which is okay. It's kind of the most that we could pay in order for this thing to work. We've got 4 cents in other places that are through a broker. And so pushing Victoria online at 7 cents is not the best use of capital. Getting these other ones online at 4 cents is a much better idea. Okay. Are we going to immigrate it to ISK coin? I'm not sure what that means, David, if you can rephrase that. Are the Tate brothers still being investigated? Yes, they are. In fact, they've got a red notice, unlike me. A red notice is Interpol putting out a please pick these guys up if they happen to cross your border. We'll ISK launch in the USA. We're working on that right now. But again, guys, controversial. Check out that interview that they did with Tucker Carlson if you haven't watched that already, and come to your own determination as to whether or not these are good people that are being kind of unfairly treated, similar to kind of our story, or if they are bad people. Again, we need good to win. We're going to have to come up with some good strategies for good to win. Remember, we're a little handicapped when it comes to playing fair. Well, we've got rules, they don't. So we got to find a way to maximize everything we've got access to in order to win. Will TEXIT have the same comp plan as Iscander when it starts back? Yes, it will. So those that bought co-founder seats, at what point are the mines generating coins? They have been generating coins since day 1, which was, I think, March 2nd. So those coins are accumulating now. I don't know off the top of my head what exactly the numbers are, but the last time we looked at it, we said that one single seat had accumulated about 400 ISK. That number is going to be a little bit higher now. But that's what one seat had generated about a week ago when we looked at it. So those things are live and they are generating right now. So
First day was the first block was mined February 3rd, correct, Bobby?
Oh, right. We're in March now.
Yeah, February 3rd, not March.
Was it February 3rd or February 2nd? I don't remember. Explorer.iscandercoin.com will reveal the answer to that question.
You just said March 2nd, so I was just making
February
sure.
3rd at 1 p.m. UTC. The first block was mined. Yes. Okay. Thanks for the clarification there. Sorry. Okay. Jay says, great to see you. My question is, if you were to have an audit on the seeds producing coins, each person, and the seeds are supposed to put out so many coins per seed, I think you mean seat. to each person per day according to how many seats that person has. If they're not putting out the correct amount of coins per day, how would this affect you if they do an audit accordingly on all of this? Hopefully this makes sense. Well, except for the seed thing, I think you mean seat. Look, you can do that audit every single day. Take a look at your hash power, take a look at the total sold hash power, divide those two numbers together, multiply it by the number of coins the network produces per day, and see how close you are. That's the real-time audit. Remember, that's what blockchain gives us. It gives us real-time accountability. So if you do that math and the numbers come out wrong, then something's off and we got to figure it out. But I haven't ever heard anyone say that I'm not getting the correct number of coins. But again, you can always do that math real time and figure out if it's accurate. No need to do an audit. You can go back every day and see it. The Tate brothers are a great addition to the team. They're going to love Brig, says Paul. Yeah. Look, guys, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. Very controversial, but in 2020 or 2021, Andrew Tate was the #1 searched man in the world. Maybe not for great reasons, maybe for controversial reasons. But go back through and watch that Tucker Carlson, Andrew Tate interview. See what you think. Give him a fair shot. And again, it's the first. It's not the only. Think about it like this. Okay, I'll just give you guys a fun number. On our best week at TXC, we did almost $10 million. $9.8 million in mid-September was a very exciting week. With a 40% marketing budget, on a good week like that, we would have to spend $4 million, almost $4 million on marketing promotion. It's really hard to spend that much money. How would you spend it? If you made a promise to your community that you will spend this ISK money real time, what would you do? Sooner or later, you'd start running out of things to do. You have to go back to the community and say, what do you think about this? Formula One team, should we sponsor it or not? NASCAR team, should we sponsor it or not? IndyCar team, yes or no? Football team, stadium renaming, like the possibilities are going to be very big and very endless. And so we're going to have to get the momentum back, get people excited about the mission and how we're doing it. Okay. Remember, that's the most important thing. We pause, we step back, we look at what we're doing, we look at the plan. It's a good plan. It was a good plan on day one. It worked. It's a good plan today. It's the same plan. Bring the cash in, commit to people on using it a particular way, follow through, use transparency to prove that you've done what you said you were going to do, and let's go. That's the plan. And so we're going to have to figure out how to real time spend that money. It's not going to be easy. Is Downtown Digital Dollars confirmed? But we're still waiting for confirmation from McKinney. Okay, let's talk about McKinney real quick. McKinney Chamber has returned the vehicle that we bought for them, which is kind of sad. They said, we understand you're going through it. We understand that you're contesting it. Look us up when you're through that. All right. So the thing about Downtown Digital is it's not on pause. We're actively working on it, but we're not actively working on it right now in Texas. Why not? Because we don't have a money service business license in Texas. And you can rest assured that all eyes are on us right now, but we are working on it. We can't tell you where, how, but we are very, very actively engaged in Downtown Digital and Fair Money. Top priorities for us, guys. I'll tell you about two other things that we're working on, just to open my big fat mouth for a minute. And I'm going to tell you about this because there's a lot of stuff going on and because I need help. Two other things that we're working on. Number one, video games. We talked long ago about doing a video game that runs on blockchain. Blockchain video games are huge in the market. We have a proposal from AJR, who's working with some people out of the Philippines on some big, online gaming stuff, video games, fun games. And so I'm going to reach out to you guys at some point in the near future and see if I can put together a video game committee. I don't know anything about video games. I don't play them. I don't know what the big ones are. I don't know how they work. I've very rarely done any video games. Probably the last time I played a video game was like GTA 5. And before that was like probably Doom or Duke Nukem or something like that. Okay, I've played some games from time to time, but I don't know enough about gaming to be qualified to build one. But we want to have video game, at least one, built on TXC. Very popular thing for blockchain. Look, it's not going to save the world, but it's an easy thing to do, and it gives us more utility. It gives us more network utilization. And so we want it. So if you know about games, then let's connect and have you give us a hand on a video game committee that's going to help bring our first blockchain-enabled game to life. Number one. Number two, we're controversial before. Let's get into it. Actual gaming. Actual games of chance and risk. We are in the process right now of working on acquiring a license to be able to do online gaming. Actual gaming. Blockchain-based casino games are huge. Why? Because provably fair results and outcomes is spectacular. The whole casino industry right now runs on kind of a black box. Somebody comes in and audits your thing every once in a while, and they say, yep, good to go. You don't know what that audit looks like. But blockchain is an amazing tool for having provably fair outcomes when it comes to games of chance. Now, I'm not a big gambler. You may not be a big gambler as well, but a lot of people are gamblers and they love to gamble. And so we are in the process right now of doing the same thing, looking into setting up online gaming, totally legal, totally licensed, just the same way there are for plenty of other online casinos out there. Not, my preferred, not my preferred best use of our time. But again, utility. We need more utility. We need as much utility as we can get, whether that's video games or online games of chance, or downtown digital dollars or fair money or anything and everything. Remember, we're building an ecosystem. Okay. We're recreating the whole crypto ecosystem, core technology, downtown digital, and the mine. That's my focus. So I need you guys to volunteer to start. Hold on, guys. My wife is blowing up my phone. It might be time for me to pause. Anyone want to jump in real quick? On Tuesday call. Urgent? Question mark. So those are other things that we're starting to work on now for utility. And again, not interesting to me, but things that are easy, low-hanging fruit out there for us to start building out more use for our network. And that's a really top priority right now. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. James says, are we still going to be selling TXC seats? Yes, of course we are. We've got a lot of seats we've already purchased we have yet to sell. Hey, Bobby, any DDD updates? No confirmation on any events, nothing on the schedule right now. Again, really, we were waiting to see what is happening with Dubai, because we have a couple Dubai events on the schedule. And again, there's a bit of turmoil over there. But again, guys, remember, we're not going to talk a lot about downtown digital because, Axis Infinity, I've heard a couple people talk about that. So we're going to look into that as well. We're not going to talk too much about downtown digital. We're going to keep that a little bit quiet so that we can be productive and get those seeds planted and growing before we let the trolls at them. Okay, I think that's it. All the questions are answered. Thank you very much to the 250 or so people that tuned in. My wife is blowing up my phone, so she needs me for something. I want to thank everyone, as usual, for being here, for sharing your time with me tonight, for being patient with me in this project. Let's get back to the fun stuff, guys. We've learned a lot about the regulatory framework. We've got the best counsel. We've got to avoid Texas moving forward. We've got to keep our hands clean as we have done in the past. And otherwise, it is onward and upward. So thanks again. Have a great Tuesday night. And I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Bobby Gray, founder, TEXITcoin, signing off. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.